everybody, welcome back to our coverage of the 2017 GAMA trade show here in Las Vegas. You're watching the Dice Tower. I'm Sam Healey, and this is Christopher from Greater Than Games. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me,
Appreciate
Sam.
it. So you have Spirit Island here.
Spirit Island is a game that was designed by Eric Royce, who made a game called Healey.
Okay.
And it's a great game. I first saw it like 4 years ago, and he's been in development for a long time on it, and we've been working with him for the last 3+ years on this game.
Wow.
We kickstarted it, I want to say last year. It's been a busy time, you know.
Yeah.
But we're really excited to finally bring it to the market. It's coming out in a few months. It's already all at the printer, and that's moving, and everything is rolling and going well there.
Cool.
But I have a prototype version that this is all the actual components from the final game. You'll note that the box here is like fraying a little bit, and that's just because we took the final components and taped things over them to make them actually the way they look. But this is an accurate representation of what the game will feel like, but even nicer.
Very cool.
So in this game, each player is playing as a spirit, and this is our island, hence the name Spirit Island. And in this game, the spirits have coexisted for many years with the native islanders, and the native islanders are called the Dahan, and the Dahan people live in these little wooden huts, and they've got these little wooden huts in various places in the map, and the spirits interact with them, and everything's fine. But then some boats show up on the coast and start unloading explorers, and these explorers make their way inland, and as they move inland, and they begin exploring the land and taking over, they start founding towns. And these towns are fine little places to live for these people. But those towns move into becoming cities, and these giant cities start popping up. And those towns and cities, by their very presence, are blighting the land with their invasive farming and their industry.
Of course.
And at first, the spirits aren't concerned. They've seen people before, and like, we're spirits, we live as part of the land. What are these people going to do? We don't care. But as they begin blighting the land, spirits are like, okay, hold on. We need to drive off these settlers. We need to push back these invaders, and we need to take back our island.
All right.
And so you play as these different spirits, and you have your starting hand of powers, and each spirit, as the game progresses, you will grow in power and gain abilities in order to push the invaders back. So you've got this track here that shows how much energy you get per turn and how many cards you can play per turn. And at the beginning of the game, it's not much. At the beginning of the game, you're just a spirit hanging out. You can gain 1 energy per turn and play 1 card per turn. But as the game progresses, you're going to be moving more presence into more places in the island. And as you do that, you will be able to gain more energy and play more cards as you grow in power and begin expanding. So not only are you gaining more reach and expanse and control of the island, you're also gaining in energy and power and other things too. You start with these power cards here that are just your own particular abilities. Sorry, these cards just went through PAX East, which you got a lot of play, so they're a little worn. But as you play the game, you're going to also be gaining other minor powers, and these minor powers aren't specific to your character. These are all specific to your character. River's Bounty. This is the river surges in sunlight spirit, and it's flash floods, wash away. It's all very thematic to this character. But you might gain things like drift down into slumber or purifying flame that are not really who you initially started as a spirit, but you in growing have to change in order to face these invaders. And in fact, to gain major powers, these are minor power cards, to gain major powers, which are much bigger, stronger, scarier effects, you have to forget some of your original powers. So in order to grow, in order to defeat these invaders, you have to sacrifice a bit of yourself. And so it has this kind of cool feeling of changing.
These cards eventually get replaced by stronger cards.
Or the minor powers. Whenever you gain a major power, you have to forget one of your original powers or a minor power you gained. So you can work hard to hang on to your original self, or you can abandon it entirely for this new self.
Well, spirits can only remember so many things.
It's true. I'm glad you know so much about spirits. It makes this much easier. One of the things we're really proud of with this game is that each of the spirits, their presence discs are these wooden painted discs, and the Dahan huts are these wooden huts. And so all of the natural elements are these wood pieces, whereas the invaders have these plastic mans and these plastic towns and cities. And in fact, as they blight the land, they will be adding these blight pieces that are also these gross, bubbly, plastic-looking things.
Filthy plastic!
It's terrible. And so as the plastic begins invading the island, the wood has to grow and push back. And that's a really cool thematic.
That is cool.
When you pick up the piece, you're like, oh, that's this gross plastic. And then, oh, that's this night-pleasing wood. And these minis are just like, I'm just going to, oh, no, I'm destroying it. Wait, no, it's fine. These pieces are extremely resilient because we were like, okay, we want to have this really spindly guy, but he's going to be really fragile, but he's not. You can like do this back and forth, and nope, he's just fine.
I'm breaking a little bit inside every time you do that.
Right?
Yeah. Don't do it again.
Okay. So like, there's a lot of there's another cool shorthand. The cities have 3 hit points, and so they've got 3 buildings on them.
Okay,
and when you've
that's
dealt them
cool.
1 damage, you can turn them that way.
Towns
down to
have
2
2?
hit points, and the towns have 2 hit points. Look at this, you're already learning
look
the game.
at that. I'm picking it up.
So this is the island that the game is played on.
Okay.
The other important element is this mat here. I'm just going to scoot that way.
Yeah.
This board shows what's going on in the mechanism of the game. And the 2 important parts that are happening here is the Invader deck. This is how they do things, and the Fear deck. This is what we're trying to do to them. We can destroy these things. This has 1 hit point. This has 2 hit points. This has 3 hit points.
Right.
Although the explorers might have more hit points based on that squishing. And you can destroy them to wipe them off the island, and you can win at the beginning of the game. The only victory condition is win the game by destroying every invader on the island.
No plastic left on the board.
Right. But
including these things?
Just the invaders. The blight can stay,
Okay.
which is why they're a different colored plastic.
Right.
But as you progress the game, as you do more fear effects, most games that have a fear track or a fear component, that's a bad thing. You want to avoid fear, but not in this game. Your spirits, you want to scare the invaders.
Yeah, because you're not afraid of no invaders.
Right. There you go.
Invaders are afraid of you.
That's very true. And so as you generate fear effects, those fear effects are going to give you positive bonuses. They're going to give you nice things that help you out. But additionally, they're going to unlock new victory conditions, where when you get to tier level 2, the victory condition is no towns and no cities. So you don't have to worry about the invaders, the explorers.
All right.
And if you get to victory condition, or terror level 3 rather, no cities, you win the game. You don't even care about towns. And sure enough, if you play a heavy fear game, you can just win the game outright by doing fear. If you're like, okay, we're not really good at offense. For instance, if you're playing River Surge and Sunlight, you notice that River Surge and Sunlight is very good at offense and control, but not very good at fear. But if you were playing the opposite sort of one, like Shadows, Flicker, and Flame, who is very good at fear, you might want to focus on a fear sort of build and just drive down the fear track.
He does look rather scary.
He's real weird.
Yes.
On the other hand, you've got what the invaders are doing via their deck. At the beginning of the game, you'll just flip one of these over, and now we know they're exploring in the sands. And so they will explore their little guys into the sands. And this, you don't know what they're going to explore next, but once they've explored in a place, you know they're going to build there.
Okay.
And so then on the next turn, they'll build in the sands and explore in the jungle. And then on the turn after that, they'll ravage, which means they attack, dealing damage to the land and to the Dahan in the land.
Okay.
They'll attack in the sands, they'll build in the jungle, and they'll explore in, now the card is upside down, in the mountains and the wetlands. And so this way, as the game progresses, you don't know what's coming up next, and the progression of cards that are going on here determines the...
That's a really neat mechanic.
Yeah, and then that goes on, and they move there. And so that way, it's like, I don't know what's coming up next, but I know their next turn, we just dealt with this. They just ravaged in the sand, that was bad, and they just built in the jungle, so they got new buildings there. But we know we don't care about the sands anymore. Next turn, we need to worry about the fact that they are attacking in the jungles.
Right.
We have to be ready to deal with that.
Cool.
And so that is kind of allows for some table planning there.
So it is a cooperative game.
Fully cooperative game, and it plays. You can play it 1 player, but it plays best with 2 to 4 players.
So are there solo variants, or do you just use the regular rules?
You use the regular rules, but it has you do a couple of minor different things, because there's certain cards that specifically target other spirits, where you're like, hey, I play this card, and you get to do this thing, or you get some extra energy.
Okay.
And the solo rules just say you get to use this on yourself, because you're the only spirit.
Yes.
But if you're playing with 2 players, you just play with this island here. That's our 2-player island. Those are our coasts. Here's all of our lands.
Oh.
And you saw the 4-player board already.
Yeah.
But the 3-player board is like that.
Cool.
How cool is that?
That's very cool.
Right. And one of the things we're also very proud of, we're very excited about, is we hired a fantastic cartographer. Because on the front sides of these boards, each island board has 2 jungles, 2 mountains, 2 sands, and 2 wetlands, and 1 coast. It's all very balanced. The shapes are different, but it allows for very balanced play.
Very cool.
We hired this cartographer to make a canonical map of the island that shows, hey, there's this mountain range running through the middle here, and there's these sands all along here, and there's there's specific icons for where certain spirits naturally dwell and where they start in the game.
Yeah.
There's these rivers that come through here, and this is a more advanced play, sort of, okay, once you've got your game down, now you can play on this canonical island map, which looks really cool and also has a bunch of additional challenges built into the fact that you don't have the same setup of, 2 mountains, 2 hills, 2 jungles.
Okay, so the other one was basic mode.
Yeah.
And this is like beast mode.
Right, yeah, this is much harder. And there's a lot of dials within the game that you can turn to amp up the difficulty.
Okay.
The game is going to come with a series of adversaries where you're not just playing against the faceless and nameless invaders, you're playing against Prussia, and they have a specific way that they advance, and they change the way their towns are built, and they have an advancement on their farming track or whatever. Like there's all these different cool things you can do to really tweak the difficulty.
Very cool.
I've played this game literally hundreds of times over the last few years, and it's always showing something new and it's doing something cool. I have so much fun with it.
So Spirit Island,
Yeah.
when is the release date that you're looking at right now? You said everything's
We'll have it by Gen Con at the latest. I'm hoping to have it at UK Games Expo.
okay. You get GE.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll be there, and we'll be there with at least a couple of games, and hopefully this will be one of them. But if not, Gen Con.
Okay. Very cool. Well, that is Spirit Island from Greater Than Games. Thanks, Christopher, for
pleasure.
showing
Thank
it to
you.
us. I appreciate it. We'll see you guys later on.